Welcome to Midlife Matters. I'm Marie, and each week I'm joined by my friends Julie and Mindy to talk about all the topics keeping women in the middle years up at night. Today we're talking about marriage and loving our spouse well. Join us as we share some of what we've learned in our own marriages over the years. We also have a fun newlywed game to show there's always something new you can learn about each other. Let's get started. Listeners, today we're talking about marriage and loving your spouse well. It's February, so we want to celebrate love and also acknowledge that it takes some work. Let's see, we didn't add this up beforehand, but Steve and I are going to be married 30 years this year. Julie, how long have you and John been married?
This year, it'll be 35.
Okay, and Mindy?
All right, this year it'll be 26.
Okay, who wants to add all those up? So 30
Not
plus
me.
35 is 65. What's 65 plus 26, Julie?
We're getting close to 100 years.
Are we?
What?
Okay, so we have almost 100 years of marriage experience. If you put us all together.
Right.
91.
Sorry, 91.
All right. Okay.
There you
so
go.
anyways, we have some long-term relationships to talk about here. But I definitely think that we've all had our ups and downs, and we want to share some advice and insight we have. And we just thought that February would be a nice time to do that. And we have gotten this request from listeners before. So seems like the right time to dive in. But before we get started, Julie came up with a newlywed game that all of us, including our spouses, were confused by. So Julie's going to take it from here.
Okay. First of all, I promised no embarrassing, humiliating questions about like your mother-in-law or some embarrassing habit, because I know the newlywed game has probably ruined many early marriages.
True.
Mhm.
At least in our lives, it has, like playing them at church and stuff.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'll start off. I'm going to have questions that I asked Bryce, Mindy's husband. So Mindy, you can see if you know your husband well.
Right. So you'll ask the question and I'll answer, and then you'll tell me what he actually said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All right. I asked your husband, Bryce, who is more likely to apologize first, you or Mindy?
Definitely me.
Oh, no. He said he did. Yeah. And this is why. He said he does more wrong stuff. And so therefore he should go first. Mic drop, he said. But I'll say
no,
that but Mindy, he said, I'll say she's getting better though.
Oh, no, he didn't. Listen. Oh, we're going to have a talk about this. I definitely apologize faster. Now he apologizes more.
That wasn't the question, Bryce.
That wasn't the question. It was first.
I'll give him that. Okay, cool. We're on a roll here. Let's go.
All right. What's a secret talent that Bryce has that most people don't know about?
Oh my gosh. Well, there's two that I think of. One that he is very organized. He always sets up my kitchen when we move. Literally, like I put him in charge of like organizing silverware, the pantry, everything. So there's that. And also that he can cook really good now. So I don't know what he said.
Well, he said grilling.
All
He said he's
right.
pretty good at
Yes.
this. And he said that
Yes.
you guys would rather cook than go out to dinner. So I know you've said that
That's
before.
right. That's right. Woohoo. Go, honey.
All right. What is Bryce's favorite meal that you cook?
Anything. Okay, hang on. Let me think. He's like, yay, you cooked. Way to go. Sweet potatoes. Because see, he's grilling now. So now I'm confused.
You're on the right track.
Okay, because it's steak, sweet potatoes, and Brussels sprouts.
Okay. He said steak, hands down, and then hamburgers and chicken are a second. So
He makes all those.
I know, that's why.
Well, you probably prepped them, Mindy. You bought them. Maybe you put the marinade on. Who knows?
You
I
said
do.
This
I
is
do
what
all
we're
that.
having.
Listen, that's my favorite meal I cook too, because I don't cook it.
All right.
This is awesome. Okay.
All right. I know that Bryce loves ice cream. What's his go-to ice cream flavor?
Easy. Cookies and cream. That's number one. And I know like he could have answered multiple ways, like, because he mixes cookies and cream and chocolate, or chocolate chip and chocolate. So really he could go either one of those ways.
All right. He put chocolate chip by Haagen-Dazs as number one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And then you're right. He mentioned if it's a shake, he likes the combination. So you got that right.
Because I'd buy all that.
Right. All right. The last question. If Bryce won the lottery, what's the first thing he would buy?
He'd probably buy me a car. I feel like he would buy me a car. Maybe he'd buy himself some golf clubs.
I think he said he'd buy himself a truck.
Oh my gosh.
So you're still with the minivan, Minnie.
Actually, he would. He's dreamed of a truck. Yeah. I just thought he would be a little more. I just thought he would think about me first. I mean, gosh. Yeah. Ford F-150, hands down. He would love to buy one of those.
Okay, here's Mindy. Here's a bonus question that no one else got asked. But he told me to ask you how many shoes you think you have.
Like 50.
He said, she'll say about 50. And he said that when we were first married, that you guys won the newlywed game on that answer.
It was. We both said like 50. We answered with the exact same words.
That's funny.
That's funny.
That's awesome. Okay, love it. All right, who's next?
Okay, I have the questions for Julie. So John sent me these answers. Okay, so Julie, who is more likely to apologize first, you or John?
I would say he is.
He did say himself, so you guys are on the same page with that.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Sad to say, but it's true.
All right. What's a secret talent John has that most people don't know about?
He does have a lot of talents. So
This is a secret one, though. I did not know this about him.
Okay, he can build things. Like he's made bookcases and furniture a long time ago. He just didn't have time to keep doing it.
Wow.
See, he can sail and but one that our family jokes about a lot is that he can change the words to a song while it's playing.
No.
Okay.
On the radio. And we like that. We laugh about that.
This is kind of a musical talent. He plays the saxophone.
Okay. I guess that is kind of a hidden talent now. Yeah.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. I've never heard him.
Yeah, he used to play it was called the Doctor's Band. It was like a swing, big band.
Oh, wow.
Thing.
How
and they
did
would
I
play
not
at
know
like
this?
weddings. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. Well, Julie, what is John's favorite meal that you cook?
I think this is easy. It's called Rotel chicken spaghetti.
That's what he said.
Okay, that was easy.
Nice.
Okay. And what is John's go-to ice cream flavor?
Well, I know he likes fruity ices over ice cream. So he would pick like Baskin Robbins sherbet or one of those kind of
He
fruity
put
flavors.
rainbow sherbet.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
And I buy enough of that, so that's how I know.
Okay. And if John won the lottery, what's the first thing he would buy?
Oh, I'd have to say a car or a boat.
Yeah, but specifically what kind of car? Because he got very specific.
Oh. A Mercedes.
It is a Mercedes. He said it's a new S-Class Mercedes.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what that would look like, but I imagine it's probably pretty good looking.
Wow.
All right. So who's going to read me my questions that I can already pretty much guarantee I'll get wrong?
You ready, Marie? Are you ready for this?
I'll try.
Okay. Who is more likely to apologize first, you or Steve?
I think Steve, but I apologize better.
Oh. You did not just say
If
that.
I'm going to apologize, it's going to be sincere and it's going to let the person know I'm truly sorry.
As opposed to the sincere.
As opposed to
no.
I'm sorry I did such and such, but you really don't think they even understand what they did wrong.
Oh, no. Okay, let's see.
But maybe he said that I apologize first. I don't know, but I think that he's going to say that he apologizes first.
All right, let's see what Steve says.
Okay.
Steve says, Marie definitely wins in speed and quality, but I win on quantity because I have so many more opportunities.
Okay.
That's good, Marie. good so far. Okay, take a breath. Okay, here we go. What is a secret talent Steve has that most people don't know about?
I feel like he's going to say caddying on the golf tour, but I'm not sure.
Ooh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know he did that. That's not what he said.
For the women's golf tour. But I don't know if that would be considered a secret talent or not. Okay.
All right. Okay. So he says, so most people know about the few talents I have, like traveling and running. So I'll say something obscure.
Okay.
Juggling. Although I can only juggle 3 things well.
He has impressed younger children with his juggling abilities.
That's awesome. Okay.
So should we hire him for our next party? Or?
I said younger children who are impressed by 3 items.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Marie, you're doing good. What is Steve's favorite meal that you cook?
Oh, I really don't know. I feel like he's probably going to say something that actually my mom cooks, but maybe he thinks I cook it. I don't know. Let me see. Oh, no. I don't know, because he's very, very easy to please. But I feel like he's going to say chicken enchiladas, but I don't even cook that. My mom does.
Well, he says if a meal is defined as an entree, then I'll say white chicken chili.
Oh, okay.
He said, but she makes a couple good desserts. Oatmeal chocolate chip cookies and chocolate chip cookie bars.
Well, I do make all 3 of those things, and I know he does like them.
Oh, that's actually nice that he's just always happy with whatever. So.
He really is very happy with whatever, unless I'm going to do something with mushrooms. Does not like olives either. So
Okay. Well, let's move on to the ice cream. So what would you say is Steve's go-to ice cream flavor?
I'm going to say something with peanut butter, but it could be chocolate chip cookie bar or cookies and cream too. Or not chocolate chip cookie bar, chocolate chip cookie dough. But I don't know. I feel like you might mix that with something with peanut butter. I know, because I usually won't share ice cream with him because I don't like peanut butter desserts.
All right. Before I give you the answer, let me ask you this follow-up question. If you and Steve went to Jenny's ice cream, what would he get?
Oh, Jenny's ice cream. What would he get? I mean, Lauren, my daughter's going to kill me because she works there. How do I not know this? But I don't know.
Lauren knows, right?
Something with peanut butter, I feel like, but I don't pay attention to the peanut butter flavors.
Okay. I tried to give you a chance, Marie.
I don't know.
Okay. All right. Here, let me let you know what Steve likes.
Okay. Yeah, let me know.
This is so funny. Okay. So he said brambleberry crisp at Jenny's.
Okay, I can see that. Yeah.
Good choice.
And then he said she'll say anything with fruit, which she hates compared to chocolate.
It's true.
He said, this is his longest answer, by the way. Okay. She may also say chocolate chip cookie dough, which is first, if I'm not at Jenny's.
Okay. He didn't even mention the peanut butter, because we went away last year and we went to this like famous ice cream shop, and he got a peanut butter shake. Peanut butter. Ew. I'm not even going to want to try that. I think he gets that so that I won't want to try things. Yeah.
Well, you got the chocolate chip cookie dough.
Okay. And he does like to get fruity desserts, and they don't tempt me at all. I don't care about a fruity dessert.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know.
Okay. I can't wait to see what he'd buy in the lottery. I have no idea.
This is it. What would Steve, if he won the lottery, what would he buy first?
Oh, I don't know, because he doesn't buy a lot for himself. I mean, I guess he might say golf clubs, but I mean, he could buy golf clubs now if he wanted to. I don't know.
Think bigger.
Think big.
A Mountain Dew dispensary thing for our house.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, maybe a truck. I'm not sure.
Keep going, Maria.
A house? Like a beach house? A beach house?
There you go.
Oh, okay. And
listen.
What did he say?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I feel like he'd be buying this mostly for his family and not necessarily because he loves it. But go ahead.
Listen, you've got the 2 big things that he mentioned. He said a house on a golf course near the beach.
Oh, okay. So near the beach. Okay. Yeah. Because he wouldn't really necessarily care about being on the beach.
Yeah, because so he wants to be on the golf course. So there you go. Good job.
I've often said I would like to retire in Hilton Head, so we could go there. We could live on the golf.
Oh, yes.
They've got a lot of golf.
Yes. You and Steve have the same dreams there.
Yes. So, okay, well, I didn't do as bad as I thought.
No, you did great.
We know our spouse is better than we think we do, and yet there's always a new mystery because none of us knew 100% what the other person would be thinking.
That's right.
All right, well, let's move into some questions that we wanted to ask, just kind of bring out some marriage advice or things that we've learned over the years. And the first one is, what are some key elements necessary for a marriage that lasts? All right, Julie, you've been married the longest, so what are some key elements that you think you must have?
One, for me, I would say friendship. I would find marriage very hard if John wasn't my best friend. And I know a lot of couples who say they don't have a lot in common, they still make it work. But for me, friendship would be pretty important. And then this is something that I wrote about on our anniversary last year, and I just wanted to kind of restate it. And it's commitment. And that sounds so obvious, like it's forever and it's exclusive. But when you get married, you're put into a situation where you really start to see the depths of your own selfishness, and you want things your way, but you come into this conflict because you're butting up against this other personality that doesn't do things like you, and it brings out your own selfishness. And it does it in a way that like no other relationship even could. Because if you have a friendship, or even if you're just dating, you can always walk away. But in marriage, if the commitment part is serious, then you're going to have to change. Like you're going to have to change to make it work. And you just can't run away anymore. And I just think that if you're willing to submit to that change, you're going to be transformed in the process. And that's what I wrote about on our anniversary last year, was that when we first got married, and I think a lot of young couples are like this, you think everything's so perfect, and you're actually thinking, I hope nothing ever changes. Like you want everything to just stay just the same. And then shortly afterwards, you're like, oh, things have to change here, and it's mostly within ourselves. And we've talked about this before. Your kids do that to you too. They change you. So I just think that's an interesting aspect to commitment. It's more than just sticking it out. It's like a willingness to submit to each other and to change for the sake of the marriage, for your own good.
Yeah, I think that kind of goes along with my first one, which is kind of weird, but I think you have to fight well. Because it's naive to think that you're not going to fight and have disagreements. And like, you can't fight with like, okay, I'm done, and like threatening to leave every time you fight. And you have to, sure, you're going to yell or get really mad or, have to have some time to cool off. But like, you can't hold a grudge because that just eats away. You can't just walk away. You have to try not to fight in front of your kids. But you have to learn to fight well and just acknowledge the fact up front that there's going to be disagreements. Like, you can't live with somebody day in and day out and try to raise kids together and go through stressful times and not expect that you're never going to fight. Just learn to fight well.
Yes. Amen.
And I think good communication is another key that goes along with that. Like, you can't expect your spouse to read your mind. And just having a willingness to understand. Like, I think most people listen just to think about what they're going to say next, not to really understand and to learn something new. So that's really important. And then lastly, I just put respect. Like, always try to present your spouse in their best light in public, not bringing out their faults and putting them down. And then just to consider them in decisions you make. Like, we just try not to make any unilateral decisions if it's on parenting or money or our home or some future plan,
Right.
Yeah. This is maybe an obvious one, but maybe not. I don't know. I feel like it has to be at the forefront and has to be discussed. Faithfulness. Like, Steve travels for a living, and I'm not sitting at home worried that he's out there on the road having an affair. But that's because I've never seen him flirting with other women, like in our different friend circles over the years or at work, or like I haven't seen him ever doing things that would really make me worried. So I guess maybe I just think that's important. Like, try to live in such a way that your spouse doesn't worry about you doing that. I mean, and I assume that I've done the same thing for him. I don't think he's thinking that I'm having an affair while he's on the road. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I just think that has to be something that you both feel confident in.
Definitely.
Right. Agree. Along with that, I thought about just being trustworthy. And something that I've noticed, even the longer we've been married, the more I trust him, because I feel like we know each other better, and I can trust through seasons. Like I don't have to worry about him, or I know that I'm secure. I'm secure in his love. I'm secure that he adores me. I feel secure in our relationship. And it's because we trust each other more and more. It's like we give more and more through the years. Along with that, we have the same dreams still. We're still dreaming together, which goes along with something that I put, you have to choose each other every day. You have to both still want it. And so you're going to continue to grow and change. Nobody stagnates as they get older. And so we even had a conversation the other day. We're like, yeah, for most of our marriage, you liked this, but now you like this. And it's kind of cool. Like, it's okay. Like I trust him. I'm secure in his love. He's allowed to change, and I'm okay. The boat has not been rocked. And then you have to choose to forgive even before you feel it.
Right.
And that goes along with being able to trust one another. And I love that you say fight well, learn to fight. Communicate through it, because I think that all goes together. It all meshes together, but sometimes you don't feel all the happy emotions after, maybe you've been hurt in some way, but knowing that you're going to make it through and choosing to forgive even before you feel it, that love is bigger than your emotions at the time.
Yeah. I think during the fight, just knowing like, you're able to picture, okay, when this is resolved, when things are back, like seeing that you will get to that point. Like, this is just an interruption, something we have to deal with, but knowing that there'll be an end.
It through.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, we will make it right.
That's right.
All right. Well, how did you love your husband first before your children? And I think that means, like, how did you put your husband in front of your children's needs, maybe, or like that they knew that you loved your husband more than you loved them. So how do you do that? Because I think that this is like something that someone tells you when you first get married, and you're like, oh, well, that's not going to be any problem. And then you have kids and you're like, I love this baby, like, more than anything. Someone touches this baby, I'll rip their head right off. Like, you have such a primal love for your child, and you really do, I feel like, in those moments, love your child more than your spouse. Like, in those child rearing years, it can be really easy to get all that love mixed up. And so I had to keep on coming back just to the principle of how it should be. Not even that I always necessarily felt it, but I knew that I needed to live it, even if I didn't feel it. And then the feelings would follow.
Yeah, I think it's important just not to put your marriage on hold, to not have that mentality when you're raising your kids. Because if you're not careful, I mean, like you said, it's very easy to let the marriage become really kid-centered. And I think we all do that at times. Like, obviously, if you have a newborn, your marriage is kid-centered for a while,
Right.
Or a lot of little kids running around, like it is. But just to keep that mentality of, okay, this is the primary relationship. The marriage has to be the primary relationship. You really shouldn't be getting all your emotional support and nurturing from your kids. It should still be coming from your husband. So ways to do that, I mean, practical ways, is just prioritizing date nights and times to get away. And it may not be as often as you want or need, but as long as you're saying this is what our goal is. I know we read a book before our kids were born, and it talked a lot about keeping that relationship as a priority. And I remember thinking, we thought this was kind of a silly suggestion when you have a newborn, but they said, make sure you greet your husband when he comes in the door. Stop what you're doing with your kids and notice that he has come back home. Spend time on the couch with him, talking to him before you get into the day stuff with the kids and babies. Or even like when your kids are a little older, have some time to talk to a couple before you let the kids start jumping on him and whatever, and I thought that seemed like kind of a silly habit at the beginning. And then once our kids got older, I was like, oh, I understand this, because it is really easy to just kind of ignore each other and let the kids just take over.
It's true.
They will use up all the time. They have no concept of, wait, you're using up all the time now. Like, you have to draw the boundary.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. So just, say, hey, mom and dad need to talk for a minute, give us 30 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever it is, before you just let them. And, that can seem kind of self-centered. And I know mom guilt is a real thing. And even guilt can keep you from maybe, or can convince you that it's wrong to go away and leave your kids or go away for a weekend or have a date night. But I think it really is what is best for the kids. It actually makes them feel more secure and gives them a sense of comfort to know that their parents love each other. And I think it's good that they see you enjoying each other and having fun together without them. They're not necessary for you guys to be happy.
Right. The first thing I wrote down, I thought it was kind of funny, but it's so true, is, how do I show that Bryce is my priority? Or I'm sorry, what's the question? How do I love?
How do you put them first? Yeah.
How do I put them first? Yeah. My first thing was leave the kids. Leave them. Now, and this is one of those things that grows as your kid grows. You can maybe go for a date night when they're little, but I have teenagers and we can leave the boys for a week and it's fine. They need supervision.
Right.
But
they get easier to leave in many ways, right?
Yes. And so I leave the kids. Yeah, they're uncomfortable, but it's so good, especially if they can have time with grandparents while you're gone. But that's the other thing, is especially as your kids' needs change, as they become more independent, choose for the kids to be uncomfortable over your spouse being uncomfortable in every situation. Make their phone call wait. If Bryce calls and I'm on the phone with one of the kids, I'm like, hey, I'll call you back. If I'm talking to a kid at the kitchen counter and Bryce walks in, I say, hang on, I'm going to welcome dad home. In every possible way, I try to choose Bryce first. And make the kid wait. They need to see that. I totally agree with you guys. And so there are a couple of kind of rules as the kids were growing up, and we still have, because we actively have kids in our house that we're still raising. But one of the things that I loved is, first of all, we agree with each other. Bryce and I agree with each other. So anytime your kid tries to play one parent against the other, it's just whatever dad said, I agree with. And so to the kid, we have a united front. Even if I didn't agree, I would show a united front and then we would disagree in private. And then the other thing that I loved that Bryce did was, when you're going through mouthy stages with your kids, I remember the first time it happened and he looked at the kid and he said, that is my wife. You will not talk to my wife that way. If some person talked to my wife that way, I would want to hurt them. You will not speak to her that way. And I just appreciated that to the kids. He said, that's my wife, not your mom. That's my wife.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. I do think it's important to draw boundaries in that way. I've left my kids in situations that were safe, but they weren't necessarily comfortable. I sent Isaac to some overnight camps that he didn't want to go to, because it would enable us to get away, and everybody else had something. Like sometimes kids have to be uncomfortable and they're safe, but like this is the only way that it's going to happen for mom and dad to get away. So this is the priority at this point.
Yes. It seems small, but it's meant a lot to us, even from the time Abby was a newborn. So from the very beginning, this became important to Bryce and I. And that was sitting next to one another at church, because church became a place for many years that we could actually sit side by side and just breathe for a minute without kids being in the picture. They were in Sunday school or they were in their own class or whatever it was, but church became a solace for us. And even as the kids have gotten older, we always sit next to one another. I don't feel right if a kid is separating us, because to me, like even visually, I'm like, I have to sit next to him. So that's something for us that has been meaningful.
I would add just, I know that men have probably a greater need for respect than women probably need more of a security, a secure feeling, and men desire respect. And one way that we struggled early on was John had a very demanding job and was gone a lot. And I know this could probably be true if your husband travels. Like when they're gone, you're kind of just, you're it. You make all the decisions, you kind of run the show. And it got really easy to just make decisions about discipline or things we were going to do and not run those by him. And it wasn't like he was this mean ogre, but he just wanted to be included. Like he wanted to still feel like he was a part of things, even though he wasn't physically there to do it. Like I was there to do the day-to-day discipline. We homeschooled, so I did the teaching. But just to like include your husband in decisions and know that you're on the same page and ask his opinion, because it's important to you that, you want to know his thoughts on it and what's best and that you come to an agreement on that. That was just really important in our life. Because I know when he would come back in, it was real easy to say, oh, that's not the way we do it. Like he'd been gone for a weekend of call, and then it's like, oh, that's not the way we did it. It's like he had missed out and didn't know. So just kind of keeping him as
in the loop
part of things.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, that's so good. I know my kids see that I delight in making Bryce happy. And it's in all the little ways. It's like they see me buying special little things or making a favorite dish or just delighting. Like I love to see him happy. And so I'll do little things to make him happy, and it makes me happy. And also like something simple is just how you respond or how you talk about your spouse, because your children see not just what you say, but also your emotion behind it. They watch your response. And so like if the boys are in the car with me and Bryce calls in, I happily answer. I get excited. Oh, Dad's calling. And it's not like pushing him to hold or declining the call. You know what I mean? Like I'm happy to be able to talk to him. I'm happy to interact with him. And I think it's just those little things that they can tell. Are you happy with your spouse? Are you happy to talk to them, interact with them? Or do you kind of dread it?
Yeah, I just thought about like just prioritizing, like you said, Marie, kind of protecting his time and protecting that time when he walks in the door. Like don't hit him with all these questions and arguments and things to settle, and just saying things like, well, Dad will be home, so let's get this done and put this away so that we can do whatever with Dad, or thinking about things he would like his favorite meals, or I know he likes a clean car, so before trips, it's like, all right, kids, let's get the car clean. That's gonna make Dad's trip easier. He's gonna be in a better frame of mind if there's order and cleanliness, and that was true at our house too. I mean, I didn't always have a clean house, but I tried to kind of straighten things up. And I know that may sound old fashioned, but if my job is at home and there's a problem at home, then that's my responsibility,
Right.
I mean, I'm sure he would love to have been at home all day, but he couldn't. I mean, he was out from 6 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. So I wanted home to be and it wasn't always, but a place of refuge and rest. And, of course we argued at times in front of them and yelled, but I never wanted to like complain to my kids about him or kind of magnify his faults. Like I always wanted them to see the best in him.
Right. One last simple, practical daily thing that I do while we still have kids at home is I make it a big deal when Bryce comes home, and I call the boys. I actually alert them, hey, Dad's home. And they know, stop what you're doing. Come say hello to Dad. He's missed all of us and he wants that relationship with you. And so to me, that's actually really a very important part of our time together is we all hug and kiss before we leave physically, and we all hug and kiss when we all come home. So when Bryce comes home, I still yell, Dad's home. And they get excited and come. They don't run like when they were toddlers, but they do eventually come.
At the door, the window.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on just to some general marriage advice, do's and don'ts. So what are some things that you would say do or don't? My first one was kind of one that I mentioned before was don't keep score. Don't try to divide everything evenly. Like I see these things where people are like, well, how can I get my husband to do 50% of the laundry and 50% of the cooking and 50% of the child rearing? And I don't know how you can do that. You can do that, but you might have an uphill battle to climb. I mean, I don't know. Like sometimes
it seems like you're always going to be disappointed or angry because that's a hard number. If you're keeping that detailed of a score.
And sometimes people are better at certain things than other people. You know what I'm saying? Or they care more about that area, or it comes more naturally to them. And so I don't know. I feel like take advantage of your spouse's strengths and minimize their weaknesses. And hopefully you guys balance each other out.
Yeah, I said something similar, like don't try to argue over who works harder.
Yeah.
I see that a lot.
That's a losing battle.
Yeah, complaining over, well, I have all of this to do and I have all of this to do. And I know there were times when the kids were little, I'm like, here, they're yours. I'm done, not realizing, oh my gosh, he's been at work for 12 straight hours under tremendous stress. And then I've just added more, but my day was stressful too, I know, but that's just that's a no-win battle. And you both work hard and that's just it. You both work hard. And I know that I couldn't have done what I got to do if it wasn't for John working as hard as he did out of the home.
Right.
And I'm sure he would have loved to have been home. But, that was the choice he made. And so I'm just trying to be really grateful for the opportunity that I had. I know it's a luxury actually, to get to do that. And so, and I just tried to lighten his load whenever I could, to take things off of him. And that's one thing. I mean, I do love yard work, but I have done all of the yard work for 35 years, like cutting the grass, trimming, mulching, planting, everything. And he would occasionally help. But most of the time I tried to do it during the week while he was at work. So when he got home, it wasn't, oh, now I have to go do yard work all day Saturday. I wanted him to have that time with our kids. So it just freed up his very limited time at home to do the things that we wanted to do as a family.
I'd say look for the good in your spouse and talk about it. Point it out. Praise him. They'll praise you. And I just feel like gratitude leads to gratitude. So in the same respect that you're pointing out and being thankful for certain behaviors or words or actions, it kind of leads to that type of atmosphere. It leads to a thankfulness and a place of gratitude for both of you. Choose to forgive. I mentioned that earlier. Continue to choose each other. Along with praying for your spouse, I feel like that's a given. But if you feel like something needs to change, pray for the change. Before you try to finagle it and do it and control it and fix it, and pray for the change, because the Lord can go before you and work that out. And you don't have to try so hard. I promise. It's like the best secret ingredient ever is letting go and praying for the things that that you don't like, really. When I'm mad at Bryce, I'm praying for that man.
Yeah.
Julie said this: communicate, try not to hold a grudge for too long. Ask for what you need and ask them for what they need. I think that's important, because, and that can change, as you're getting older, that can change. And then another thing that we learned later in marriage was I can let him be a dad. This sounds ridiculous. And he can let me be a mom. We're different. We have different roles in our kids' lives. And this also comes with being able to trust one another more and more, is that I trust him in his role as a dad. I'm not going to tell him how to do it. I won't always agree with what he's doing, but I trust that he's listening to the Lord, and I trust that he's doing what he feels like our children need. And so there's a lot of times I sit back and I pray and I'm like, Lord, I'm not sure about this. It's not how I would have done it. And it's just amazing how the Lord has told him to do something that I wouldn't have had the heart to do as a mom. And in the same respect, Bryce lets me be a mom. If I need to be soft and he wouldn't have been soft, he trusts me in that more now. And that's really a beautiful place to be at as parents, because parenting, as we've mentioned, is really hard and can really be a tough place for a married couple.
Yeah, that definitely is a learning process. I know we struggle with that, wanting more on my end, me wanting John to do things the way I would do them. And he would say, I'm not you. Like, I don't even know how to do it like you would do it,
Right.
Yeah. And I shouldn't want him to.
Well, we all want people to do things the way we would do them. So I think that's a normal instinct, but we have to check ourselves. We have to check ourselves.
Because our way's the right way. Hello.
Yeah.
But that's why we're given a spouse. We have strengths and weaknesses, so we can balance each other out.
Yeah.
Another thing that I thought of was be interested in what they're interested in, and at least you can try to learn. Ask questions about it. Like John loved traveling. That was very easy for me to join in, but he loved sailing, and that took a little work. And, I encouraged him to do it. He took one night a week out to go sailing right after work and teach other people how to do it. And I gave him that night, and I say gave him, it's not like he needed my permission, but I gave it to him without holding it over him,
Right.
And I do think you should both have outside interest. I think that's good for you individually and as a couple.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like we would be negligent in having a marriage episode if we didn't mention sex, because I just think that sex is the glue that holds a marriage together. And I think that you should recognize that in a long-term marriage, sometimes you're not going to feel like it, but you're going to do it anyway.
Right.
And the feelings are going to follow. And sex can cover over a lot of things that have been going wrong, and you'll keep moving. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just really is that glue. And you're not always going to feel close to your spouse. And if you wait to feel close, I feel like it's the kiss of death for your marriage. Like, you just need to go ahead and do it, and you're going to feel close. And then, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying every time, but I'm just saying that I don't know. I just don't think that that's something that you can ignore. And we have to say that is a crucial part of most marriages. And so
yes, it is.
Don't let it fall by the wayside. It's easy to let it fall by the wayside and let your kids determine if and when you're going to have sex and if you're ever going to have a moment alone or anything like that. But you have to be the one to draw the boundary around that. And you have to be the one to keep that spark alive.
Be intentional about it. Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought that up. And it's something that Bryce and I now joke about with sex, is a lot of times if there is a conflict in our marriage, he will handle the conflict better if we have sex first and then talk about it. I will personally handle the conflict better if I feel more loving and like he's asked for forgiveness first, then I'll feel more like having sex. So I know that a lot of times, and I feel like this is part of what you're saying, Marie, is that even though I might be upset about something that's not resolved or whatever, we're going to continue to stay married. So let's go ahead and have sex. And then he's more willing to talk.
Yeah.
And can I mention body issue with this? Because I think a lot of women would struggle if they're like, I just don't feel, attractive because I'm carrying an extra, however many pounds. And so, okay, let me just tell you, as a testimony in my marriage, I've been multiple weights. We've talked about this. Mm-hmm. Bryce does not remember, nor does he have the baggage mentally that I carried. Mm-hmm. He's not aware of that. He loves my body. Mm-hmm. It didn't matter what size I was. I was the one having the problem, not feeling comfortable. Mm-hmm. And he just was delighting in my body. And so if I can say, if you can try and set aside your own personal baggage issues or whatever, your husband is so happy to have that intimacy with you. Mm-hmm. And it's okay. Your husband doesn't have the baggage that you have. He's not looking at you thinking, oh, she could really use to, work out.
I have read before that men tend to see their wives the same way they saw them when they first fell in love. So they still think they look like that.
Oh, good.
Yes. Yes. That's what I'm talking about.
So, I fall back on that.
Be comfortable. That's right.
Yeah, but I do think that's so important. Good. Is there anything else that you guys would say that, I don't know, marriage advice you'd give in this month of February?
I did hear some really good advice this week. I was listening to a Timothy Keller sermon. Mm-hmm. And this was some of the best advice I've heard in regards to the command in scripture, like leave and cleave. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's the obvious, like you leave your parents' house. You leave by not being financially tied to your parents anymore. And then you leave emotionally, like you don't consider their opinion on every decision you and your husband make. You care more about what he thinks than what they think. But then he said it's also so much more than that. And I had never thought about this, but it is so important for a young couple to do this. It says it means having a fresh start, which also includes leaving behind like the family ways, the traditions, like the way we always did things. You get to ask each other, like, how will we do things from here on out? Like we've started a new family. We're not these families anymore. We're our own. And he gave this example, like, my father may have loved my mother by doing loading the dishwasher or changing diapers. Mm-hmm. Well, then if my husband didn't do those things, I could easily feel like, oh, he doesn't love me, So instead of like just leaving all this up to assumptions and the way things were done in your household and bringing all that forward, ask each other, how will we feel loved? Be careful to establish these new ways, these new patterns. And he said, I loved this. He said, marriage is like salvation. It's redeeming. You get to start over. You get to have a fresh start. And instead of just continuing on in the old ways. And I loved that. I thought that's going to be one of those things when you go to a shower and they say, write down some marriage advice. I thought that's a really good one,
Mm-hmm. It is.
Leave all those old ways behind if you need to.
The last thing, it seems so simple, but I would just say have fun together. That just laugh together, have fun together. That could be a TV show that you guys decide that you enjoy or going to do some sort of hobby. It doesn't really matter. Go to the grocery store together. Just have fun together. So that life is hard. You're making a million decisions. You're constantly, there's business you have to take care of. There's utilities, there's bills, there's whatever. But if you can just have fun together and stay friends.
Yeah.
If you can learn something together, I think it draws you closer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Probably even the sailing, even though John knew more about it than you, Julie, you guys learning together brought out a whole new world.
Yeah, I did learn a lot. I mean, because I helped him, it was, I had to learn.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. If you can learn a new skill together, I think that's really good. All right. Well, listeners, we hope that this has been helpful for you, encouraging for you. We definitely don't claim to be experts. We know that we can all use advice too, but we just hope that we've encouraged some people in their midlife marriage today. If you want to find us on Instagram, it's Midlife Matters Podcast, or you can email us at midlifematterspodcast@gmail.com. But before we go, we want to do I'm a Fan. All right, Julie, what are you a fan of this week?
Okay, I'm a fan of something, and I'm not sure. I started thinking maybe I've already mentioned this, but I thought, well, if I can't remember, I'll
Maybe
just say it
listeners
again.
can't either.
It's a, I don't even know how to explain it. It's a feature on your phone, at least on an iPhone.
Okay.
It's called Search with Google Lens. Have you ever used it?
No.
Okay, so like if you take a screenshot of something that you like in a home or an article of clothing or anything, once it's in your photos, you click on that photo. Then at the bottom of your screen, there's that little square with the arrow, that's like to send it, whatever. So yeah, click on that and then scroll way down because there's like lots of options: copy, photo, add to album, all of that. Well, way, way down at the very bottom, there's Search with Google Lens.
Interesting.
And it pops up and then you hit view results and then you can click on different things in the picture.
Oh.
Like there's some plates on this wall. There's some tennis shoes on this person, and it'll link it to where you could buy it.
That's cool.
Or similar products.
I
It's really cool.
know about this.
Yeah. So
no way.
I tested it on like some of my photos of my home and, like, oh, this great pillow. And then sure enough, it found a pillow really, it tries to match it.
Oh,
it's
that's
really cool.
So cool. I really like that idea. Yeah. I've heard about it for Amazon before. Like I think within the Amazon bar, you can take a picture and Amazon will try to find it so that you could order it. But I haven't heard it for Google. So that even expands the search wider.
Yeah, because it's for any picture you have. Yeah.
Okay.
That is
Love
so
that.
cool.
Google Lens. All right.
Yep.
Mindy, what are you a fan of?
I was sick a couple of weeks ago and I had a lot of time on the couch resting. And I found 2 movies on Netflix that I thought were totally adorable and I loved them. I'll probably watch them again.
Oh.
It's the Enola Holmes movies. There's a first one and a second one.
Oh, she's the Sherlock sister?
Yes.
Yes.
She's the younger sister of Sherlock Holmes. And it started out kind of weird, a little bit odd the way, because like she'll talk to you like the watcher, and it's kind of like, okay, that's kind of different. Give it a minute, y'all, because it is the cutest and actually very clever movies. Then you realize there's clues all throughout, like subtle clues that they weave all together. They're so smartly written and performed, and they're just adorable for an adult. Like these are not necessarily kid movies. I loved them.
I'm gonna have to look those up.
I just really got into them, and then as soon as the first one was done, I don't think I realized how much I liked it. And then I was like, oh, I want to watch it again. And then I was super excited to see there's already the second one out because I took so long to watch the first one.
Well,
so there's
great.
2? Because I've watched 1. There's 2?
There's 2.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll put a link to that in the show notes. I'm a fan of something that has been making Steve and I laugh together, and it's called the Blank Slate board game. Have you guys heard of Blank Slate? Okay,
No.
so on the Target website, their description was maybe the best one I saw. It says, if you're looking out for something new to introduce to your family, then Blank Slate board game is your best bet. This fun game comes with 8 slates, markers, and 250 double-sided cue cards. The objective is to complete phrases with any word, but you score points for matching your word with any one other player. The rules are simple to understand, and each match lasts only about 30 minutes. And it is so true. The rules are simple. It's basically, an example would be like cat blank or full blank or evening blank. And then each player would jot down what they think would come after those words to make a phrase. So like catnap or full house or evening gown. And then within the group, you hope that at least one other person has your word. One other person is perfect because then you get 3 points. If more than one person, then you get 1 point. But if no one else, then you don't get any points. So you don't want it to be so obscure that no one else is going to have it, but you want it to be just obscure enough. So it's good for all ages. They'll either put the blank before the word or the blank after. So you can make the phrases both ways. I would say, I mean, it's for up to 8 people. We had 10 people playing it the other night. We just wrote the 2 extras at the bottom and still were able to use the board. But it's definitely fun in big groups. So I would highly recommend Blank Slate if you're looking for an easy, fun game, especially if you have multi-generations. They all will be able to play. You can all sit around the room. You don't have to sit like right at a table. It's great.
I like it when you don't have to all be close to the board,
Yes.
That's nice.
So Blank Slate, highly recommend. Listeners, if you've played it, I'd love to hear how you like it. All right, Julie and Mindy, this was great. I enjoyed talking about marriage with you guys. I feel like there's always something new we can learn.
Like it was proven with our newlywed game.
True.
I know. I love it.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you next week.
All right.
Sounds great.
Okay. Bye. We're so happy you joined us today. You can find the show notes for this episode at midlifematterspodcast.com. Also, please tell a friend about the show and help them hit the free subscribe button on their favorite podcast app. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast. That's where we post pictures and stories about all the things we talk about in each episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.